Hi, now welcome to my second part of the Business Focus Challenge. Now, this part, in fact, many of the things I'm going to pose here, you would probably have thought about as we did the first one, as you set your goals about customers and products and profits and products and services. So, this is really in a systematic way going through the questions that may have gone through your mind so we can systematically look at the key issues that needs to be looked at in your business. It is not a tuition where I'm going to teach you all of this. I mean, there's books and books written. The reason of calling it a business focus challenge is to ask some key questions. What I believe is the key questions, but in a real session, I tweak that to suit the person. So, with that said, um, as I go through this, I'm going to do it in a conversational style, a bit more relaxed. It is not a business tuition session. It may be a little bit helpful, but send a request. Go to my website and send a request for a session if you really want to talk about this, because that is what the value of this often is. But for now, make sure you have that workbook. It's in two parts. Remember, we've done vision, goals, and strategy. We are now going to look at the second part, which is your planning, your management, and reflecting. It's all about what will it take to achieve the goals. So with that said, go and get your workbook. You can follow the questions as I go through them and write them down. Alternatively, you may just wish to watch me and reflect your thoughts and write them down on a piece of paper and then go through the workbook again more leisurely. Now, as I said, you have probably thought through all these issues as we did the first part. But now what I'm going to do is go through some key issues in a systematic way so we make sure that some of the important questions are asked. Not all the important questions, because that will take way too long and it will not focus. So when I'm looking at planning management and doing a reflective overview, I'm looking at, first of all, your customers, your marketing, and your sales. Then your people, then systems in your business, then your leadership and your strategy. Then let's look at the results. How do we define results and how do we measure them? Now, go and get that workbook if you want to follow that, or a piece of paper and a pen if you want to jot down. I highly recommend that you jot down your thoughts as I talk, because I may say one thing and it may lead you to think about something else. Record those thoughts before they run away. It happens to me too often. Now, first of all, on the issue of customers, marketing, and sales, how do you obtain and use customer and market knowledge? Really, do you get it by talking to people, reading a lot, finding things on yellow pages, making a list of customers? And when you know this about customers, how do you use it? What do you do with it? Because there's no use knowing things. What can you do with it? And then, of course, you can ask yourself this question: what do I want to do? And to do that, what do I need to know? So it's the same question. Another question is, how do you build relationships and grow customer satisfaction and loyalty? We all want people to like us and to buy from us. That's very useful. So how do we keep people satisfied and loyal? And I would suggest it comes down to good service delivery and good product quality and all those things. Yes. How do you do it? How is this going to help you achieve your goals? Then how do you provide support to your customers? How do you make sure that there's a good service to your customers? It sounds easy and simple, but often the challenge around these things are that once we have sold and the customer walks away, we forget about it. Do you follow up? Do you ask if they're happy? Do you try and fix problems? I'll tell you now, that is where the rubber hits the road for many people and makes a difference between the people that really rise out and the ones that also reigns. Now, what noise are you making out there? Which is what marketing really is. Marketing, if you really think about it, is about attracting attention. So, what are you doing around the thing of marketing? How do you maintain your competitive position? How do you get more people to show an interest in your business? Sounds easy? Yes. If we theoretically look at things, it's easy. But when we have to actually write things down, it's more difficult. So, how do you want to compete? How will you arouse some interest? How will you get people to buy from you? Now, that comes down to a sales plan eventually where you say, well, how do I prospect for clients? How do I get people? How do I get them to the point where they have an appointment with me and I can talk to them, whether it's in my shop or in their offices or in their mechanic workshop? And how do I get them to sign on the bottom line, which means how do I ask for the order in such a way that they buy from me? Sounds simple? Yes. Everything is simple on paper. Ask those questions about your customers, your marketing, and your sales. Now, the next one is all about what are you doing around people, managing people? Are you motivating them, inspiring them, engaging them, firing them up? Sounds simple. What are you doing to do that? So the first question could be, how do you engage your workforce to achieve organizational and personal success? Right. Engage means they are excited about what they're doing. They react, they interact. They're not sitting there and hope that you go away. How do you build an effective and supportive workforce environment? So how do you inspire people, but then the place they work in, does it inspire them? The people they work with and the way you build teams, is that inspiring, and does that support your workforce in such a way that they focused on the goals and the results you wanted to focus on? Now, what's the role of your people related to your financial objectives in marketing and sales plan? So how does what they do directly impact on financial objectives in sales and marketing? Because now it could be that someone has an impact on someone else and that. So it's about the team effort. I'm not being silly that every person is going to sell. But how does it relate? How does this system work? How does this team work together? Now, the next one is all about systems. Now, when it's systems, how do you design your work systems? How do you get the systematic way of doing? How do you design it? What do you do? Now, there is no right answer about these things, by the way, as I ask questions. It's really making you think about what ought to be done. Now, how do you manage and improve your key organizational work processes? You can think of these as the things you do every time, and if you do them well, you will achieve better results in every area of the business. So what are the key processes that has to be done well on a regular basis for you to improve success? Now, this is all about good organization, really. So you can see where I'm going with this. I'm saying, number one, look at the customers in the market. It's all about getting customers. Number two, your customers are served by people who work for you. So they have to be inspired and engaged and see the seriousness and see how they relate to your key goals around customers and sales and how they are supportive of that, and you put systems in place to do that. Now, this is all dependent on how you lead and manage them and the strategy you put in place. So the question there is, how do you lead? Do you direct people or just tell them, or you make them think, or are you to let them go what they want to do? Do you allow them to participate in your strategy and ask them and work teams around that? Do you support people? Do you provide an environment in the workplace where if people have any struggle, they feel the support necessary for them to improve and to move ahead? Now, how do you develop your strategy? Again, that's about leading in a way that's participative and letting people work with you. It's not just telling them; it's also asking them, because it's using the potential in your business by asking people what can be done and how to tackle this market and how to develop products and how to improve sales, because that's what strategy fundamentally is about: staying competitive. Now, how do you implement your strategy? How do you get it done? Sounds simple, but to get your strategy done, you have to put certain actions in place. You have to check up. You have to make sure people are held to account, starting with yourself. If you say you do things, you're held to account. I'm quite good at helping CEOs who have no one that they're accountable to. If it's their own businesses, I can play that role. And then this is all again about good organization. So you've seen, I've looked at 4 areas: customers, your people, being systematic, and then leading and managing in such a way, and developing your strategy in such a way as to involve everyone. Sounds simple? That's really what I'm asking here, in different ways from different questions, with different questions. The last one really is a summary almost of that, not a summary, but how do you take all these methods, processes, tools that you have to put in place and put them in terms of results that has to be achieved? Because if certain results are achieved in all these areas, then the final result of greater sales is achieved and more customers. How do you measure it? How do you measure, analyze, and then improve the performance in each of the areas above? What is your key areas you have to perform? Now, you look at your financial performance results first. So you look at, and this is not difficult to measure, net profit, gross profit, sales, but it could be return on investment and some other results. What's important for you to measure? I would suggest start with profit and sales. Those are critical. And then add. You can't ignore those two. Marketplace results. Do you get the attention in the marketplace you need? Do enough people know about you? Do enough? Is your marketing having an impact or not? So how will you measure whether your marketing has an impact in terms of people being aware of you and being willing to engage with you and possibly buy from you? Right? Now, what customer-focused and performance results do you have in place? So that is very, very simple, and saying everything we do is there to deliver value to customers and to provide good service. How do we measure our performance in the key areas of customer delivery? And the same for product and service performance results. You deliver that to customers, good quality, doesn't break, doesn't arrive broken. When a person walks into my shop, how do I service them? How do I help them? Now, I know if it's a $2 shop, the level of attention will be different from when you are selling high-end sound systems, for instance. It depends on the business, so you can't do everything perfectly. That's not why I'm asking these questions. Then what are your workforce-focused performance results? So in terms of what your people have to do, how do you measure the results of those processes and the systems they have to put in place and the work they have to do? Because those results should then contribute to the final result, which is more customers and more sales. How do you measure those results? Now, what are your process effectiveness results? Now, again, processes is the things you do on a regular basis, the systems, the steps you take, and each one will have a goal. You follow certain steps, you achieve something. Effectiveness comes down to achieving a goal. So how will you measure that? What are those results and how will you measure them? And then what is your leadership results? Now that's more difficult, but what are the things you have to do that you can measure your impact on how you led people? Because the more we think of being measurable, the less we go with airy-fairy discussions and saying, oh, I feel good. And the other person says, no, I don't feel good. So what's the real answer here? Oh, the sales are okay or the sales are not okay. Doesn't say much. If I say I want 100 and I get 80, I haven't achieved target. If I say I want 80 and I achieved 90, I've achieved target. Or if I said 100 and got 101, I've exceeded target. It's that simple, and it's unequivocally clear. No arguments. We've gone through the 5 main areas. So I just want to recap here and ask you to think about this in a very simple way. So number one, I've asked you about customers, marketing, and sales. And this is what it is. Do people know about you, and is enough people getting to know about you? Are you asking for the order when you get them to sell to them? And do you deliver to the customers what you've promised to them and what they expect? Now, second, do you manage people in such a way to inspire them and engage them and get them really involved with selling to your customers and getting people to buy from you? That your people are inspired by what's happening and enjoy working there. Then, do you have the systems in place? It's a systematic way, not just computer systems or digital, but systematic ways of making sure the key things in this business happens. And the key things will be around delivering to customers. But what are the key elements that you have to focus on in this business? Then do you lead people in such a way as to involve them in developing the strategy so that they then buy into it and I engage and I get excited about it so that you inspire them thereby. And do you have ways to inspire and motivate your people? Of course, the last one was all about results and measurement. So do you have very clear results, which is very specific? Can you measure those results, and is there a time limit to them? Those three areas. There's many much more things you can talk about goal setting and results. But those three, if you have that ready and you have a list of the things that results and how to measure them, you will be much more focused on calling yourself and everyone else to account. As I said, we start with ourselves. So if you are interested, send me a request. Head on to my website and send a request for a first session. We can have a chat and take it from there. With that, all that's left for me to say is thanks for listening, and I wish you all the success that you want in your business.